Dan Henry,
What's up, brother?
what isn't up, man? What isn't up? So
Taxes and blood pressure.
this is a guy who you've been in marketing and sales for a long time, right? Since you was really young.
Over a decade.
Like, how old was you when
2009.
How old was you in 2009?
I'm bad at math, unless it's dollars. I don't know.
Well, when I
young,
first saw you,
early 20s.
you literally looked about 12.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. Well, that was before I had the more money, more problems issue that aged me. You know?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you was back in the day. I remember the first time I really saw you in the world of marketing was when Russell Brunson was launching ClickFunnels, and you was kind of one of the pioneers of using that platform. And would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. What
I've made them a few million in referral commissions.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was going to say the whole Dan Kennedy thing was a.
Oh yeah, and I did the Like Dan challenge for Russell.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually done a few things for Russell where I've done presentations, and I get nice checks every month. It's pretty cool. And he got me started in marketing. Actually, he's the first guy that got me really interested in it.
Right.
So he's an awesome dude.
Where did because going back to the beginning, I saw you as a kid. Like, literally, I know you look younger than you are anyway, but you look like 12, and I'm seeing a kid out there just on the Facebook and everything, and most people are shit scared of that. Where did the drive come from to actually go into that world of sales and marketing in the first place?
Well, I could barely pay my rent, feed my family, or provide for my wife, and I was more scared of that remaining the case than showing my face on camera. So I just
you had
got
a family
over
young.
it. Well, I wasn't that young. I just looked young.
Right.
Yeah, I was like 27.
Wow.
Yeah. Bro, I'm 38.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
well, I'm 43, so I've still got a bit on you, but
Yeah, but I'm saying like I really wasn't that young. I just looked
yeah,
young.
you look really young.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so you had a family quite young.
I had somewhat recently got married to my wife, and it's funny because my wife had a very wealthy father, but she left Turkey to come to the United States because she literally is I love her, very stubborn woman though, in a good way. She cut herself off from her father's wealth, moved to America to find her own way because she didn't want to be controlled by money, right? And she meets me, and she's like, and this is funny. This is a woman that always grew up with money and wealth and all this. She's like, I want to find a poor guy. I want to marry for love, right? And then we get married, and then I realize, okay, that's cool, but I can't pay the bills, so I need to make money. And then when I figured out this marketing thing, it made me a millionaire. And she jokes, she's like, I married you because you were poor, and then you had to go and get rich. So it's funny because marketing, I truly believe that marketing is the key to make anyone rich in any industry. Like a lot of people think about marketing and they think, oh, info products and online courses and this or that. But I've owned multiple restaurants. I've owned multiple businesses, software. I have a software right now that's doing very well. And I never sat down and looked at all the things I've done and been like, it's a good thing I understood LTV, or it's a good thing I learned how to analyze consumer dynamics, or it's a good thing I know how to do accounting, or it's a good thing I read 5 leadership books and I understand how to lead. No, I'm probably not a great leader at all. I have a temper. I fucking suck. But I know marketing. And when you know marketing, you can make enough money to make up for all the shit you suck at.
Yeah, right.
So for me, I was like, you know what? Let me just get good at that thing and I'll figure the rest out, or I'll pay somebody to figure it out for me.
It's interesting you say about your wife, because I've got kids and I see this pattern where I had nothing as a kid. I had a massive perception of lack of security. My dad had left, no money,
that sucks,
the whole story. And subconsciously, you then value most what you perceive to be missing most as a child. So then you push and you strive for security, and money is a means to that. So you end up being good at making money because that provides you security. And then when you have kids who have everything, they then want to struggle because what was missing in their childhood was struggle.
Yeah.
So now they're searching for struggle. So it sounds like your wife was like, right, I've had all that, so now I want the opposite.
Yeah, it's grass is always greener.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, but if she met you and you were poor, what was your upbringing?
Well, I grew up in a very My father, very weird. My mother was in the automotive business where she did sales consulting for automotive. My father was a shock jock. Do you know what a shock jock is?
No.
Do you know who Howard Stern is? It's basically a radio DJ who says messed up stuff on the air, and basically a radio comedian.
Yeah.
Okay? And so when your normal average American family at the dinner table, probably you sit down, you have dinner, hey, how was your day at school? My dinners were my dad's latest dick jokes, okay? Which actually is not that unheard of as a Floridian. We're very special people. So this actually, you would think that this is just like a funny story, but in truth, it very much so hampered me in the business world. Because when I first got started in business, I'll tell you what happened. I had this very Florida, crude sense of humor. And so all the big dogs, because Russell Brunson actually said this about me. He was shocked that I made millions all on my own, because most people, they do, like Sam Ovens did a joint venture with Ty Lopez.
Right.
All these guys all these guys that blow up, they somehow find a guy bigger than them, do a promotion with them, they get big, and now they're on their own, and now they're the big guy, right? And Russell said about me, he said, and maybe since then this has happened, but he said I was the only guy he knew at the time who had blown up all on my own without anybody. And it's because I just did not get along with anybody. Nobody took me seriously, because back then I was younger. Imagine you want to have a serious business conversation with somebody, and the guy's just cracking stupid, off-color, offensive jokes all the time, and he's just a wild man. You're not going to take him seriously. And nobody did take me seriously, and I fully understand that. That's fine. So I was forced to figure it out on my own. I literally did it all on my own. I had no help. I mean, I had help in terms of, like, I would read books and buy courses and stuff like that, but I didn't have anybody say, hey, let me let you leverage my audience. Never happened. Even to this day, really, except for what I've done with Russell, but I've also promoted his stuff.
Yeah.
And so it was an interesting thing that sometimes when your back is against the wall, or you take what you would consider your disadvantage, you can turn into your unfair advantage. Because when I realized nobody wanted to do business with me, I took all those funny, crazy, quirky things about me and I put them into my content. And I went viral and I blew up, and people bought from me. I mean, I'll tell you this. One time, I was on a webinar. Guy starts heckling me. By the way, this is like 12 years ago, okay,
Yeah.
or 10 years ago. So I'm not saying that I've grown up, I got a kid, I got a family. But back then, you know what I did? I turned around, dropped my pants, and mooned the guy right on the webinar. One of my highest converting webinars. You know why? Because at the time, my audience was young guys, 18 to 25. They were sick of the gurus. I was like the anti-guru, which I guess now I'm a guru, which is ironic. But I was the anti-guru, and they always said, Dan tells it like it is. And when they saw me moon this guy and basically say, fuck you, I didn't say, oh, well, let's just remove him from the chat. No, I literally gave him the finger and mooned him. They were all like, I love this guy. And people were buying just because I did that.
Wow.
Now I'm not saying that that's how I am now. This is years ago. I was a young kid. But why do you think Andrew Tate gets famous? Because he appeals to his base. Why do you think on the opposite end, somebody who's a feminist influencer, who's the exact opposite of like a Tate, gets famous? Is because growing a brand, growing a business, and getting popular to people who throw money at you really comes down to one thing: finding something you stand against. Andrew Tate stands against feminism. Feminist influencers stand against chauvinism. I stood against gurus that didn't tell you the truth and didn't tell you it like it is. And I was just raw, real, and to the point. So my biggest advice to anybody that wants to grow an audience fast: find something that a lot of people really hate and just talk shit about it constantly. And you will grow a loyal fan base, and they will buy from you.
Yeah, I was exactly the same. I had a very contrarian view on what most people were doing. So it was like, there's all the BS out there. I was just promoting the opposite. I was actually deterring people away from, from stuff, because it was just crap. And I think people tune into that. Humans can tune into what's real and what
Well,
isn't.
you're going to by existing, you will piss everyone off. If you are a human being and you exist in the world, you will piss people off. I guarantee you, if you've ever gone to church, as you are walking out of that church, there's an atheist who has driven by at some point, seen you walking out of that church, and said, fuck that guy. He believes in an imaginary spaghetti monster in the sky. Okay, you cannot. But at the same time, somebody else will look at you at church and be like, "Oh my gosh, praise God!" Right?
Yeah.
You cannot make someone very happy without making someone else very sad
We were just talking about
or
this.
angry.
Yeah, 50-50 opinion is the best you can expect
Exactly.
in the
Yeah.
world, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so you didn't just succeed though. You're going. You must have had a hunger somewhere, and I know you're going out there and trying to see what works, see what resonates, see what hits. But you went. You made an exceptional amount of money at an early stage in that career,
Yeah.
or at least that's what it looked like on the outside. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. But
Well, I had actually, before I got into internet marketing, I did have some mildly successful businesses. I had a bar and restaurant that I bought. I scraped together money I had made from like affiliate marketing,
right.
bought it, remodeled it, and I had to figure out how to get people to come. So that's where I started learning marketing and
Right.
Facebook ads and social media, was to grow my restaurant. And when I did that, it became the hottest spot in town. I sold it for a $300,000 profit. Now, which is, by the way, in Florida, 99% of bars fail in the first year.
Right.
Okay. I, in 14 months, made money and flipped it for a $300,000 profit. So I got 300 grand in my pocket right now, right? Well, I'm still young. I'm still stupid. So I invested into a software idea, which, by the way, any advice I can give to anybody, don't try to jump 5 steps on a ladder, one step at a time, because you will fall on your face. I had a successful restaurant, which I'm just going to say this. If you're a restaurant owner, you are at the bottom of the totem pole on entrepreneurship. You are in beginner level, easy mode. Any moron can own a restaurant and make it successful. Like anybody. It's just that there's a lot of people out there who are complete idiots, so they can't make that successful. So for me to try to go from, I have a successful restaurant, to software was incredibly stupid on my part. I was jumping up too many steps on the ladder and I fell. And so I wasted all that money. Now I'm broke. I get married. Can't friggin' even, but we had to eat ramen noodles. And my wife says to me, she's like, can I tell you, my wife is always very direct with me. She says, can I tell you something? She's like, you're a horrible businessman. I'm like, thanks. She's like, but you know how to do this, what is it called? Marketing? The thing where you get customers? I'm like, yeah, I know how to do that. She's like, yeah, but everything else you suck at. She's like, why don't you do that for other businesses? I was like, okay. And by the way, I wasn't watching Iman Gadzhi's channel at the time. I didn't know anything about owning a Facebook ad agency.
Right.
It was completely out of my mind. It was my wife's idea. So I start reaching out to other businesses. I'm like, hey, I made my restaurant popular with Facebook ads. Can I run your Facebook ads? And I got clients. And I ended up making like 25, 30 grand a month for a solid 6 to 8 months. I got back on my feet. And then I get a letter in the mail from the IRS. See, when I owned the bar, I had my bar, again, stupid move, had a bartender do my taxes. She had all my paperwork, right? She dies. She up and dies, drinks herself to death. Can't get the paperwork. Her family's distraught, can't get the paperwork. IRS sues me for $250,000. Literally said that I could not write off my liquor, my food, my rent, my electric, she's like, if you don't have receipts for every liquor bottle you spent, we're not allowing it. How do you own a bar and not have liquor? Let me tell you something. The biggest criminal to ever walk the face of the earth in the United States is not Al Capone. It's not even friggin', who's that pedophile that's Epstein or whatever? It ain't even him. It's the IRS. They are criminals, okay? All right, I literally put them above Jeffrey Epstein, okay? Because there's probably a bunch of Epsteins in the IRS anyway, so you might as well give them #1 asshole award of the frickin' decade. Anyway, so I'm like, okay, I'm making good money, but I can't afford 250 grand. I'm just now getting back on my feet. I got lots of debt. I still had student loans, which, okay, hold on. Epstein, IRS, the student loan people, let's squeeze them into #2. Where Epstein's getting further and further down the list, man. I tell you what. So anyway, and then there's the fat Hollywood guy. He's right next to that guy, right? But still, IRS, student loans. Okay, I'm just joking. So anyway, so I got to make a lot of money. So I start researching online. I'm like, okay, how do you make a lot of money fast? And they're like, oh, digital products. I'm like, what the fuck is a digital product? And they're like, you sell what you know. I'm like, what does that mean? And they're like, you like sell courses and consulting and coaching. And I was like, really? People buy that shit? Again, I'm not in this. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So I start looking into that, and I launch because people were asking me, like, how are you making 25 grand a month with an agency? And I'm like, well, here's how you do it, right? And I've told a few friends how to do it. They go out and they start making 5-10 grand a month. And I'm like, shit, I should, of course, I should sell this, right? So I start doing, I figure out this thing called webinars. I'm sure you know what a webinar is, right? And I study it. I literally spend weeks studying the top webinars. I read Russell Brunson books, boom, do my first webinar. It does $48,000 on a $997 product.
Did that shock you? Were you surprised?
Yeah, I was trying to make 10 grand.
Right.
No, seriously. I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
let me send the IRS 10 grand and shut them up. Okay,
So you done the webinar to pay your bills?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How did that work? How did that affect your performance in the webinar from a scarcity?
Bro, I work great under pressure. If you say,
Right.
Dan, see that Lamborghini over there? Go make money to get that Lamborghini. I'll be like, I don't really need a Lamborghini. My back kind of hurts anyway. But if you say, Dan, your mom needs an operation and it costs this much money, I'll be like, I got it, right? Like,
Throat cut offer, right?
yeah. Oh, yeah. I can explain to your audience the 4 levels of offers if you
we'll
want.
talk about
Okay,
that
I
in a
made
minute.
35 million with offers. I know offers. Okay,
Sure.
I can explain it. So anyway, yeah. So I do it, make 48 grand. Do it again, make 52 grand. Made 100 grand my first month selling a password. I spent a lot of Iman Ghazi lives here in Dubai. I spent like 2 weeks hanging out with the guy. He's a really cool guy, and he made this joke to me. He's like, we make what we make millions doing, right? I said, what? And he's like, we sell passwords. I'm like, what? And he's like, bro,
Login.
he's like, you're selling a login, and you're making millions of dollars. Like, you realize that, right? And I was like, oh shit. I was like, wow, So anyway, I make this money. It goes parabolic. Make 2.9 million my first year. I say, fuck you to the IRS. I go hire the best tax attorney I could find, pay that dude like, I don't know, 10, 15 grand. He reduces my IRS bill from 250 grand down to 50. So I stiffed them for the majority of what I owed them. And that was done.
Was that getting serious? Because that must have been a time.
Oh yeah,
period.
they were
You might
showing
not
up at
go
my house and stuff. Yeah, it
threaten
was
jail or anything like that.
Well, if it kept going, I would have gone to jail. Can you imagine that? Do you know in the United States, the penalty for evading taxes is worse than that of a pedophile?
Well, I can.
That is why I
can
put-
believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why I put the IRS above Epstein. Okay, you see how I tied that loose end up? Yeah, that's the plane landing. Okay. Anyway,
All right. So you made a bit of money. You settled off the IRS. You've learned a thing or two about marketing and sales. Before we talk about strategy stuff, was there a point in time where you felt disconnected in that journey from who you really were as a person? Did you lose
In the
yourself?
beginning?
Did you lose yourself at all in that from then?
not
till
in the
now?
beginning, bro. I didn't give a shit about none of that. I was just trying to
No.
make money to survive.
Sure.
But after I planed out and I made millions and I got a house in this country and I got a house in that country and this and that, yes, 100%. Because I was just trying to make money to take care of my wife, my future kid, and then I had a kid. My mother, my father, I wanted to buy them houses, which I did. That's what I wanted to do. And then, have you ever watched Breaking Bad? Yeah. So I kind of became Walter White.
So your ego took over.
Well, no, I don't know if it was ego. It was more just like, hey, I did all the things I wanted to do. Now I'll see that thing over there. I want that thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just do another webinar. Okay, I got that. I mean, I bought a $2 million yacht, 60-foot Horizon PC60 yacht for $2 million cash once. And it was literally like it was like probably a handful of webinars that bought it.
Right.
And like, it wasn't so much ego or even having the yacht. It was more like, I just did it because I was like, I can do it.
Right.
Like I hate this word because I think people that use this word are spastics, but I manifested it, okay? I didn't manifest it. I just went out and did the work.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was like, hey, I want that thing. I know how to get that thing. Fuck it. Why can't I get it? I should be able to get it. But the problem with that was that I was young and I wasn't very smart. And I could have invested that money in real estate this and that. God was very kind to me because I bought that yacht. And you know how they say you're supposed to lose a lot of money on a boat, you know? I buy that yacht. COVID hits. Now, no, by the way, when I bought the yacht, people were telling me I wouldn't make money with it. I would lose my ass. So I started selling day with Dan's on the yacht for 20 grand a piece.
Right.
I was profitable on the yacht. COVID hits. But here's what happened. Because nobody wanted to be stuck in their homes, they were overpaying for yachts because they wanted to live on the yacht. So my broker calls me. He's like, you want to get out of that yacht for the same amount you paid? I'm like, yeah. He's like, people are buying up yachts like crazy because of COVID. So I sold the yacht, invested it in real estate, and I got out of that without...
You break even or just under?
I didn't lose anything.
Right.
Which is, by the way, that's like
that's
the one that's like all 9 cat lives in one shot, like that, but it taught me an important but I have lost money on other investments. It taught me an important lesson that you got to be smart with your money. If God gives you the blessing of making money, be smart, because when I became obsessed with making money, it got so obsessive that I became so busy that I ended up having troubles in my marriage and we got divorced. Because I was just, because like when you build, like what a lot of people don't realize is if you build a machine, you can't just say one day, you know what, I'm going to spend more time with my family, because that machine is built. You have to keep the machine running. If you kept the machine small, okay, fine, you can do that. But when you build a huge machine, if you don't constantly maintenance that machine, the machine will just crumble. It's like, that's why Elon Musk works, whatever, 58 hours a day or whatever crazy, because he built this huge machine. And what I have done in the past few years is I've scaled down my machine. And even so much recently, I've scaled it down to where, because dude, I don't need that much money.
No.
That's what that was the biggest epiphany I had in my life is, whoa, I don't need that much money. I used to make, I delivered pizza for 7 years. For a time, I was making $1 million, sometimes 1.5 million a month, bro. But the funny thing is, I wasn't enjoying my life.
No. So when did you realize, obviously you got a divorce and everything, when did you realize that it was that was causing all those problems? When did you realize that you needed to connect with who you were and scale down?
Well, it's simple. When you don't have everything, you wonder what it's like to have everything. But when you have everything and you still feel empty, you go, oh, I don't have everything. I thought I had everything, but what everything is when I can be okay not having everything. And let me tell you something, bro. I've had Lamborghinis. I've had freaking yachts. I've lost or had stolen more expensive watches than most people will ever own in their life. Okay? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't make a difference in your life whatsoever. I've even bought big houses. I bought a 6,500 square foot villa here in Dubai. Didn't go in 80% of the villa. And I'm sitting there one day and I'm like, what am I doing? So I sell it, made a 38% return. By the way, Dubai real estate is freaking...
that is common.
Bro, Dubai real estate is like,
it's crushing,
what?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, fine, I'll sell it. And I buy this much smaller apartment over here in Marina. Beautiful apartment, small. I still don't use all of it. Yeah. There's like a guest room I never go in. I got my office, I got everything. Everything's nice and chill, beautiful view. I'm chill, I'm cool. Like I don't have a big house to deal with or worry about, and contractors come in. Having a big villa is like having a ship, constantly getting it worked on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've just realized, I have a Mercedes. It's a nice Mercedes, a GLS AMG, but I don't have a Rolls Royce. I don't need what do I need a Rolls Royce for? And what I've realized is that I can work much less hard, still make a couple $100,000 a month, or even 50 grand a month. For those, like, anybody can work and make 50 grand a month and not have any staff.
Yep.
20 grand a month for sure.
Yeah. I always say, like, there's a kind of 1.7 to 3 million a year. I think you can run with very lean staff and have very systemized. Anything over 3 to 5, that's where it starts to get a little bit of an animal.
And here's the funny part. You start building up a big team, you end up making the same profit.
Yeah. No, I know.
The amount of time spent doing some things is still the amount of time spent telling people to do things.
But here's the thing. A lot of people are spouting about how many staff they've got as an achievement. And for some people it is, because they've got a really well-oiled machine. But I look at some people who say, oh yeah, we've got, you know, a big office space with a ton of staff and we've scaled like it's a celebration, but they're less happy.
That's like the guys that say I have 10 girlfriends and all I hear is you have 10 headaches.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
You know,
humans are so complex. The last thing I would want is more humans, because there's
Yeah.
so many variables.
Well, I'll tell you this. I spent almost a full year every day learning prompt engineering for AI. And I would say 85% of what happens in my company right now is all AI. All of our marketing is AI. Our ads are AI. Our video editing is AI. Literally, I can edit. You can give me these 3 files. No offense, brother, but you know how they charge you to edit this shit?
Yeah.
Never pay for it.
Yeah.
It takes 30 seconds. There's a plugin called Autopod. You take each one of these files, you pop it in Adobe Premiere, you assign which speakers on which microphone, you hit one button, bam, the entire podcast is edited in 30 seconds, boom. Literally, I never pay to have podcasts edited. Give me the files, pop it in, 2 minutes later, fully edited podcast, AI. I mean, it's crazy, right? Our marketing, our copy, our emails. However, I don't use ChatGPT.
Right.
I made my own AI. Well, because I'll tell you why. This is why most people, when they use like ChatGPT and AI and they still don't get good results, it's because AI has access to what I call common knowledge. Common knowledge ain't very good knowledge, okay? Because everybody has access to it. So that means if you say, write me an amazing email for this product, it's going to write you something that it wrote for thousands and thousands of other people who said the same damn thing. Why? Because ChatGPT accesses information in a certain data set. What I did was we built our own AI for my company where I took recordings of masterminds I had attended. I took results of, imagine I've sent over 1 million marketing emails, okay? Meaning they've delivered in over 1 million inboxes, okay? Not written 1 million, but they've delivered in over 1 million inboxes. And imagine you take all that data and you distill it down and you figure out what email frameworks worked the best and got the most sales, and then you program your own AI. You're going to get way better results than ChatGPT, who's just going to guess based on some book about email marketing. Okay, so when I started, and I spent a year building this.
Right.
So we built our own AI system based on, I mean, dude, I one time paid $50,000 for a one-on-one session with one of the world's greatest public speakers. Recorded it, transcribed it, programmed our AI. I've had meetings with Russell Brunson, Myron Golden, Alex Hormozy. I've literally transcribed them and put them into my own algorithm. This is stuff you cannot get anywhere else. So the real key, and this is my advice for anybody who's trying to make more money with their business, better marketing, better efficiency without hiring humans. If you have data that nobody else has, maybe it's marketing data, maybe it's your own experiments, maybe it's information you have acquired that nobody else has or you paid a lot of money for, you can program your own AI, which will give you far better and more proprietary results than using ChatGPT. Because it doesn't matter how good AI gets, it only has access to public data. If your AI is running off your own data, you're gonna sound different and unique than everybody else. And what is marketing? It's selling the same thing everybody else sells, but making it sound new, fresh, unique, and different. That's what marketing is. And so that's been clutch for us. Yeah. You know? Because we just have access to information that most people don't have.
Okay, so marketing. I started a YouTube channel. I've never placed an ad in my life. I've never done any marketing. I've never spent a penny on one advert. And in 10 months, we did $12 million off of the back of a YouTube video.
Really? One YouTube video or one channel?
One video.
Really?
And that is why I was asked to speak at AdCon. That's why I've been speaking all these
What was the title of the video?
Trading for Dummies.
Wow. Great.
And it was, and the interesting thing about that video, and I love your take on this, is before I started the video, my energy that went into it was, how can I give away everything so they don't ever have to ask me a question after they've watched this video? So the video is 2.5 hours long. We post it out, and we make more money than ever.
When you say you make more money, give me an example. Is there a link in the description?
So yeah, so we posted the video out in January. it got to about 10,000 views by May. And then in May, I'm sitting here, 5 months have passed. All of a sudden, I'm sitting in a pool and my phone starts going nuts with 1,000 subscribers, right? So it triggered an algorithm for YouTube. Then I start getting 10,000 subscribers a day, right?
How many subs you got now?
It took me 8 years to go to 50,000, and then that period of time to now, 500,000.
Oh my God.
Right? So within 3 months of that triggering, it had got 1.7 million views and 0.04% of the
So you basically uploaded a course.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it felt like a course because I introduced it as a course. And I said, introduce yourself in the comments. I created a workbook for it, everything, right? So it felt like a course.
Holy shit, wow.
And it was free. So the call to action at the end was a 300 quid 30-day challenge, right? Which was then the start
What's a quid?
Of a funnel. Pounds.
Ah, okay. So like probably like $350, $350 probably.
So about 350 bucks.
Yeah.
And
American colonists.
so 0.04% of the people bought that thing, which was 5,550 people. So straight away, 1.6 million.
Wait, hold on. Back up. So you have a trading course in your YouTube. You put a $300 product in the description.
Right at the end of the video. So
and you made how much?
1.6 million just from that.
From the $300 product, not from...
Not from the rest of the funnel or ad rev or anything. Ad rev was about 120K at that point.
No, but I'm saying like you sold a $300 product.
Yeah.
The 1.7 million cash came from purchasing the $300 product.
Yeah.
Not from them purchasing the $300 product and then purchasing your higher ticket.
No, the funnel then continued, which then there was an 899 thing and then there was a membership. So it was an annual membership. And then it just continued. And to this day, that video is getting 700 subscribers a day. And it's just this, it's like Lemmings. You remember Lemmings? The video game.
I wasn't a video game guy.
Right.
Yeah. No,
so basically, Lemmings drop out the sky, and you have to just build like the ramp to the exit, and it felt like that.
No, that's amazing. Like,
you drop this video.
Yeah. We've made a lot. We haven't made that from our YouTube, but what I've noticed is very similarly. Like, I've shared a video where I taught something about like copy, right? And I literally give it all away. And then in the description, I've mentioned like, hey, if you just want our software, because that software I told you, after I used it for my own company for a year, I started selling it.
Right.
And I named it Artemo. I don't know why. I just
Artemo.
I literally just one day I was like, I should call it Artemo. No rhyme or reason to it whatsoever. I just thought it sounded cool. Like if I had an AI copywriter that was my personal AI marketer, I'd call him Artemo. No reason whatsoever. Okay. And then, anyway, so like, why does Alex Becker call his stuff Hyros? What the hell does Hyros mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was whatever, right? So anyway, I put the link in the description because I remember I watched this interview on Founder where they interviewed Casey Zimmerman, I think his name is. He's the CEO of Easy Webinar. And they asked him, they said, what are the highest converting webinars of all time? And he says, oh, that's easy. It's webinars that show you a path to success and then offer to do it for you, with you, or make it easier or faster. And I was like, oh my God, that's so simple. So I started doing YouTube videos where I would teach something about copy or marketing or whatever. And then in the description, it was like, or our
We'll do it.
AI marketer can just do it for you.
Yeah.
And people just sign up like crazy. And so I literally, I'm going to be honest with you, bro, that software is growing so fast, I might just stop selling high ticket and just lean back and chill.
Yeah.
Because SaaS is worth a lot. Like when you have a lot of MRR and SaaS is worth a lot. You know.
Yeah, I'm not an empire builder. I'm more of an angel investor. So I'll happily give people money to build and deal with all the headaches of staff and take a smaller piece of a big pie because I just don't want to.
I'm more make cash and put it in real estate.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
angel investing is a little. I did that once and I lost 750 grand.
Right.
So I've never lost money on real estate.
No. Okay, fair. Especially not here in Dubai. That's crazy.
No, bro, dude. Dubai is. I'll never invest in America again. Dubai is easy mode.
Yeah. All right. So you're teaching people how to make money, right? But what? Okay. How do you teach them to make money? What is a great offer? Because that's what it.
Yeah, perfect. So, all right. If anybody listening to this has ever struggled with coming up with an idea to sell, especially if you sell any type of service, online course, info product, book, anything like that, okay? There are 4 levels of offers. And really this applies even to a local business. It applies to any business, any company that's ever existed in the human history. 4 levels of offers. At the bottom level is what I call must be nice offers. These are offers that solve a problem that must be nice to solve. Most people just will not even take the time, thought, or energy to solve those problems. Maybe somebody who's very wealthy or luxury will, okay, cool, I'll buy it, whatever, right? For instance, if you're bored and you buy a fidget spinner, must be nice to have a fidget spinner. It's just not a big deal, right? The next level is what's called annoyance offers. These are offers that solve problems that are annoying. People are annoyed by them, but ultimately they can live with them. Sometimes they'll pay for them, but they can live with it. The next level is insomnia offers. These are offers that actually keep people awake at night. They lay awake at night and they say, God, I got to solve this problem. These are the majority of offers that make millions because they keep people up at night. It's very difficult to make millions with the first 2 because it's just not that painful of a problem. And you can barely charge for it. Insomnia offers are, again, the bulk of $1 million offers. But then, the final level, the creme de la creme, is what I call a bleeding neck offer. This is where you're cut in the jugular and you have a bleeding neck wound and you're just bleeding out all over your shirt. You're stumbling into the ER and you're like, I don't care what it costs, save my life. These solve a problem. These offers solve a problem that are so painful that it literally feels like an emergency. So a must be nice offer is like a paper cut. An annoyance offer is like a scraped knee. An insomnia offer is like maybe you've twisted your knee and you need to go to a knee doctor to fix it because you're having trouble walking, and then a bleeding neck wound is a bleeding neck offer, okay? If you happen to be lucky enough to have a bleeding neck offer, you can be terrible at sales. You can be terrible at marketing. You can know nothing, and you can still be a millionaire. If you have that offer and you're not a millionaire, you pretty much suck as a human being.
Yeah.
You will never make it in anything. You barely can wipe your ass. It's that easy to sell those offers.
And is it a case of maybe you've just got the wrong audience? One thing that comes to mind, right? So I live in the UK. We have about 2 weeks, maybe 1 week of hot weather a year, right? And for that 1 week, it's so hard to get asleep because it's hot, right? And we don't invest in air conditioning because there's no point. It just wouldn't be on. So for the 1 week of the year, I'm like, it's annoying, right? And I can't sleep. I need an air conditioning unit, right? But then if I lived in Dubai and there was no air conditioning, I would need that flipping air conditioning unit, right? And I'd pay more.
It's like a bleeding neck offer.
It's a bleeding neck. You can't sleep. Like, it's literally keeping you awake.
Yeah.
But it's the same product, just a different territory, different
Yes.
audience.
So the same offer can be a must be nice or annoyance offer for one audience, but it can be a bleeding neck or insomnia offer for another. For instance, in the United States, our AC units, they're run by our electricity. It's on the same bill. Here in Dubai, there's a completely separate company and a completely separate bill that you have to pay for what they call the chiller, which is AC, okay? And I don't know why that is technically, but I would imagine that it's so desperate to have here that there's its own dedicated department. You have to pay extra for it. I had to pay like a 2,500 dirham deposit just to turn on the freaking air conditioning in addition to the electricity. And you know why I paid it? Because what would happen if I didn't pay it?
You'd be up all night.
I'd be dead. I'd be boiling like a friggin' frog in a pot, okay? So you just don't, there's no option, right? You pay it. You don't go, well, like in Costa Rica, I have 2 houses in Costa Rica. You don't need AC. You can open the windows and you'll be fine.
Right.
It's barely an annoyance offer. It's a must be nice offer because most people don't have AC units there. But in Dubai, it's a bleeding neck offer.
But you can also have multiple offers in your ecosystem of products, right? At different price points.
Look, I would rather spend 6 months figuring out a bleeding neck offer than 6 months promoting an annoyance offer.
Right.
Or even an insomnia offer. I'm not going to say what it is because if you find a bleed, you know how they say the first rule of Fight Club is don't talk about Fight Club? First rule of bleeding neck offers, if you have one, never tell anybody about it. Right. I sell, at my main company, I sell marketing advice, marketing tools. We have a mastermind for entrepreneurs, blah, blah, blah. That's not a bleeding neck offer. That's at best an insomnia offer, okay? I have another company in the Middle East that nobody knows I own, but it's a bleeding neck offer. And it prints money like crazy. And I will never tell anyone what it is, okay? But I swear to God, I could literally, and one day you might see this, I always said one day I'm going to redirect all my funnels to a page of me going, ha, 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 you can't give me money anymore, okay? And I'm just going to stop selling marketing because I have other companies, like I also have done these, what I call anonymous offers, where I'll literally create like a series of ebooks on a certain topic. It could be like red snappers. And I'll use my marketing knowledge to sell these things completely anonymous, no face, and they'll do 5-10 grand a month each, easy peasy, and nobody knows anything, right? Like I don't just sell marketing. It's just people keep paying me a lot of money for it, you know?
Right.
People pay me 50 grand per day for a VIP day.
Right.
I'm not going to turn that down. You're going to pay me 50 grand for the day, I'll take it, you know? But I have these other things over here that are just crushing it. And so one piece of advice I'll give to anybody who sells marketing, at some point, realize that you will make far more money doing the thing than teaching the thing. Yeah. In almost every other market, that's untrue. Almost every other market, if you are a real estate agent and you make $1 million a year doing real estate, you could teach other realtors how to make money doing real estate and you'll make $5 million a year. Almost every other market, you will make more money teaching it than you will doing it, except for marketing. You will make more money doing it rather than teaching it.
Right. What tips do you have if someone wants to create a bleeding neck offer out of their current offer?
Okay. Listen. First of all, your goal should be an insomnia offer. A bleeding neck offer is like a hit song. It's like Justin Bieber. You know, it's not often. I mean, I'll go years without a bleeding neck offer. So you definitely want to try to get it, but you can't sit around forever waiting for it because it's just, sometimes it's depending on the market. Like I have a client who does $3 million a month and he has a bleeding neck offer. And what it is in the United States, we have veterans who, I don't know how it is in your country, but let's say you serve in the military in our country. The military says, hey, once you get out of the military, we're going to give you money and we're going to take care of you if you have to go to the hospital. It's called VA benefits. But then when you get out, they make it almost impossible to actually get those benefits. It's a scam, right. Okay? So there's a lot of veterans in my country who have served their country, they have fought, they have bled, and the government does not take care of them. It's a racket, okay? Wow. That's why when people say, oh, Dan, you left your country, you live in Dubai. Fuck you, okay? Like, really? Like, they don't even take care of their veterans over there. So this guy, he has a business where he basically runs an ad, and I don't even know how he does it, but he basically says, are you a veteran that doesn't get your benefits? We'll help you get your benefits, and if we get you your benefits, we get a cut. You don't have them now, right? Prints money. Yeah. That's a bleeding neck offer, okay? I don't know how to do that. Like, there's people, there was another friend of mine who literally partnered with a college. The college, he just knew some guy at a university, and the guy was like, hey, I'll give you like $10,000 for every new college admission you get. He somehow got that deal, so he runs ads and he gets people to apply for college and he prints money. Like, these are just like unicorn situations sometimes. So I wouldn't say, how do you make it a bleeding neck offer? Because that's like, if you know how to do that at will, I'll pay you. Yeah. I'll pay you money to tell me, okay? The majority of the time you need to go after an insomnia offer, something that truly keeps people up at night. They lose sleep over, and here's why. If you are an amazing, and I'll teach a tactic on here in a minute that I think your audience will appreciate, and I'll even give a resource if they'd like it. If you are an exceptionally good speaker, persuader, influencer, and marketer, you can sell even a must-be-nice offer and make millions, but you have to be top 1% communicator. And I always say to people, look, you're not going to be as good as Tony Robbins, Russell Brunson. Fuck, you're not even going to be as good as me. I spent 10 years at this. You're not. Like, you might be, maybe, but most of you won't. Why don't you just make it easy and sell something that people really want to buy so bad that you don't have to be as good as me? You know what I mean? Like, spend more time finding the right offer than trying to be so damn good you think you can sell shit and still make money. That's a much better use of your time, you know?
The problem is people know what they want, but they don't know what they need a lot of the time.
No, the problem is not the customers. It's never the customers. It's the entrepreneurs. Most entrepreneurs sell what they're passionate about, what they want to sell. It doesn't matter what fuck you. You're nothing. You mean nothing. You are insignificant. You are nothing. What matters is your customer. What matters is what they want. Yeah. If you care so much about what you want, go find a problem in the market, solve it for people, make a bunch of money, and then take that money and go do what you want to do. One thing that pisses me off more than anything is these business owners who they're basically hobbyists posing as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Like, I will have people get into on coaching calls with me, and they'll be like, well, Dan, I really want to sell this thing. I'm like, I don't care what you want to sell. Why would you even ask me that? What does your market want to buy? What are you capable? Like, okay, I would love to teach video editing. I would love to teach, if I could make money talking about comic book movies, I'm much more interested in that than I am marketing. But I'm good at marketing. And sometimes I find it boring. And sometimes I find it repetitive. But I pick up my balls and I do it anyway. Why? Because I'm one of the best in the world at it. And when I teach people marketing, their businesses do better. I'm capable. Stop worrying about what you want to sell and the problem you want to solve, and worry about the problem you're capable of solving.
The difference is you're able to communicate to your audience who know what they want and give them what they want, but also give them what they need. I'll give you an example. I see a lot of people fluffing their words because they know what they need, and then the audience tune out, even if they do need it. So, like, if someone's selling me a 6-pack and I want a 6-pack, and you got that guy over there going, I'll just get you a 6-pack. And then another guy going, you got to change your mindset and your shopping and your routine and all that, which is stuff I probably need to do. But I'm not going to listen to him because I just want the 6-pack. So I'm going to go to that guy over that guy.
Okay, I'll give...
So it's communication of what they want.
I call this gift wrapping, okay? You never want to sell someone what they need. You sell them what they want. And then when they get what they want, you show them what they need.
Exactly.
Okay? Yeah. So I'm not doing it right now because I'm traveling over the next few months. I don't have time. But I did these challenges, basically like paid webinars. And I did 5 of them. And one of them did 800 grand in sales. One of them did 500 grand in sales. One of them did, I think, 450. They do really well, right? And the reason for that is, and I've done this multiple times, like one of them was called Epic Pitch Challenge, okay? And I say, hey, buy this, basically this paid event, and I'll show you how to create a pitch so that you can pitch what you do, you can articulate what you do. Very small nut and bolt problem. But when they get on there and I teach them that, I make them realize, like, no, your entire sales system is broken. I show them the bigger problem, and then they buy into my mastermind where I help them with the bigger problem. Another time, I did what I called the Raise Your Prices Challenge. Made $1 million on that one challenge. Made $1 million in a day. Because I got them in and I said, let me solve one little problem for you. And that is, you need to know how to raise your prices. Once I solved that problem, I showed the bigger problem. I said, listen, the bigger problem here is that you don't just need to raise your prices, but you need to change what problem you solve, who you solve it for. You need to adjust your offer, your market, and you need to learn how to sell for a much higher price than you think. Because people came on thinking, oh, I need to raise my prices from 500 to 1,000. And I was like, no, you need to raise them to 10 and 20,000. Yeah. They'd come on, and then I would sell them into a boot camp for 12 weeks to help them get their high ticket system set up. Made $1 million. They went out and made, they're making, I had one lady, she literally charged $500 for a course. Now she charges $30,000. She sells them like hotcakes. I got a video testimonial from her talking about it. I mean, like, imagine going from 500 to 30,000. But I didn't say all that. I just said, let me show you how to raise your prices. Very simple, very small thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example. Let's say you were a speaking coach and you wanted to sell people on how to craft a signature talk. I would sell a book called 500 Companies That Hire Paid Speakers, Name, Email, and Phone Number for $47. that solves a small problem of finding people that hire speakers. But in the book, you're like, hey, why? Why do people hire paid speakers? Because there's a topic that they really want to bring to their audience. Now, if you had something that somebody bought, that somebody really wanted, would you try to, like do restaurants sell a different meal every day, or do they have a signature meal that they sell over and over again? Let me show you how to book a call. I'll show you how to create a signature talk that when you reach out to these people, you can just sell it over and over again. You just say the same thing, get paid, make a 6-7 figure speaker. Bam. Now you're selling that for 10 grand. So you see the difference? I didn't lead with, let me show you how to create a signature talk and be $1 million speaker. I just led with, hey, here's, you don't want to spend hours researching for these contact information. Here they all are.
Yeah.
Right?
That's awesome, man. That's a great takeaway. What was the resource?
Yeah, so one of the best things you can do in marketing is shift thinking. And the best tactic I've learned is called agreement analogies. So most people don't know this, but the world's best life insurance salesman outsold everyone from his small Ohio office with one single analogy. This is a guy who did not own a big firm, wasn't in Manhattan, was in a small office. He would go into office buildings. His name is Ben Feldman. He'd go up and down the elevators and he'd just talk to people. And he would say, hey, if you had a money printing machine in your basement, would you insure it? And they go, well, yeah. He's like, well, aren't you that money printing machine for your family? Bam, sells them life insurance. So an agreement analogy is where you present a thought experiment that once they obviously agree with it, something that they just can't disagree, of course, it aligns also with the thing you want to sell. And if you layer in your marketing, in your sales videos, even on your sales calls, enough of these agreement analogies, the human brain will naturally go, well, shit, I need to buy this.
Talk itself out.
Yeah. So I have a little free Google document that explains and gives 5 examples of agreement analogies that you can use. You can get it at getclients.com/analogy.
Amazing.
It'll go right there, just Google Doc, and it'll just give you examples. And the more of these agreement analogies you can come with, doesn't matter. Sales calls, webinars, ads, it'll just massively increase your conversion rate.
Amazing. Well, there's a great resource. I want to kind of just round off by, you've seen a lot. You've been a lot. You said you've got software, restaurants, pizza, marketing, sales, right? You had a divorce, right? You've been really in this world. With your client's best interest at heart coming to you for advice and coming to work with you, what would you tell them the bigger picture is? Like, what would you advise them overall? What are they going after, really?
Great question. What they should be going after is life design. Because if you don't design your own life, you're going to follow somebody else's design. Here's a little thought experiment you can do that will open up your eyes to the next 10 years of your life. If you take a sheet of paper and you write down all the things you don't have in life, like think of your dream life, think of what that looks like. Ask yourself, does that dream life require more money? 9.9 times out of 10, sure, it does. It's going to cost more money. Now write down a list of all the things you think you need to do to make that money. Then look at that list and ask yourself if that list is in conflict with your dream life. Because I was making $1 million a month. I had a big sales team. Look, I got into internet marketing to live the laptop lifestyle, to not have a team, to not be a big corporation, to chill and make money. And I let it get out of hand, and I was making disgusting money, lost my marriage, lost my family. For what? I did all the things that went against how I needed to live my life. So people are literally saying, here's my dream life. It requires more money, but I'm going to go do all these things that make it impossible for me to have that dream life no matter how much money I have. And that is insanity.
Yeah.
And so I scaled my business down. I still make great money, bro. But I got my wife back. I have time. I have more time now. Like I don't have to constantly push to be freaking Steve Jobs. I don't want to be Steve Jobs. Okay, I just don't.
But I think so Always Free is about being free in mind, movement and money. And it's true freedom where you know who you are truly and your vocation aligns with who you are, and you're able to be not tied geographically and be able to have the experiences that you want in life that all align with who you are truly as a person, and then having the financial stability to cover the experiences that you need personally. And that's going to be different for everyone. And that to me is a state of always free. I think the first downfall to what you just said, to that excellent example, because I write something similar in the book as well, a lot of people, when they write down that dream life, they'll be looking up to other people and trying to write goals that someone else has got that aren't truly important to them, right? So how do you really know that what you're writing down is important to you? Like, because otherwise you're going to chase.
Yeah.
I sent I did a post to Alex Hormozy, right? And he said, if you're in the room with, friends without goals, you're in the wrong room. And I just put a different perspective, and I said, I have no goals. I think the goal is to have no goals. I think the goal is to just have a great daily life. That's the goal. And have no aspirations. Because every time you've got a big goal, you're a slave to the goal. You're not free.
I actually agree with that. I hate goal setting. I think it's stupid.
Right. Okay. So I've had goals, and now I'm an author, and just by living my life, I know I'll hit certain milestones, but I'm not chasing deliberately because I don't want to be a slave to that goal. So how do people really get in touch with who they are, would you say?
Yeah. When you make a list of what you want your dream life to look like, the best way to do it is, instead of writing down what you want, just write down a huge list of what you don't want. And literally, that will tell you what you want.
Amazing.
That's it.
Yeah, that's great.
Don't even think about it any more than that.
I love that. Man, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thanks for coming on, mate. And
brother, yeah.
All the links to Dan's stuff will be in the podcast, but is there any particular place you want them to go and find you?
I'm always dropping crazy value on my Instagram at Dan Henry, and as well on my YouTube at Dan Henry. But if you want that resource document for the analogies, getclients.com/analogy. That's probably one of the top tactics or methods that I would recommend to somebody to just become massively more influential overnight.
Nice, man. And you're not going to do any Moonies on your...
no, not today.
Thanks for coming. Cheers.